boring stuff
Mm.
and how that's really where a lot of value can be brought because
Mhm.
nobody likes doing the boring stuff.
I also think it's boring because it's kind of hard.
Hmm.
I even think about in personal life, the stuff that I set aside because I say, oh, it's boring or it's not interesting or it doesn't solve a big enough problem for me right now. It's this
Mhm.
kind of, you could think of it even as technical debt in some way. Um, and I think some like if you're working on a problem or if you have a new idea and you want to create something, at least for me, I like to think about, okay, well, what do I want to make? And I'm going to focus all of my energy around what I want.
Mhm.
I'm not going to and if something gets in my way a little bit along the way, I'm going to just find a way to move around it and keep moving along until I get to the place that I want to go. But that doesn't really help when it's time for other people to use it or
Yeah.
other people to interface with it because all of those things that I went through, they're probably going to have to go through it too. And so when I think about the boring stuff, I think about like you start on your laptop building something and then it's time to go deploy it for real. So then your platform team has to go and think through all the things that you didn't want to think about. You didn't want to think about any of those things. I don't want to think about sharding or scaling. I don't want to think about if the server crashes.
Mhm.
When does that happen? That happens, right? Like, especially if you come from a mindset where you've been deploying into the cloud, unless you're cheap and you're only using spot instances, and you had to think about that, right?
Mhm.
Um, if you were deploying somewhere where all that stuff was taken care of for you at a small scale, then when you want to go and do it for real, someone has to think through those things. What happens when a server fails? What happens when a link fails between two different locations? What happens if your user has a slow connection and you can't send back to them quickly enough? Have you thought about timeouts? Have you thought about
Mhm.
all of those boring things
Yeah.
that end up like killing an application and killing a user experience?